Hello, this is Sanjeet, and in this video, I will talk about a question that can come up at an Agile coach interview. And the question is, describe the role of an Agile coach. So, see you on the other side. Hi there again. So, this question can come up at an Agile coach interview and it can be asked or worded in a few different ways. So, for example, this question can be asked as, "Hey, can you please describe the role of an Agile coach?" Or it can be asked as, "So, what does an Agile coach do?" Or how do you view the role of an Agile coach, right? So it can be asked in a few different ways, but the intent of the question is the same, right? The intent of the question is basically it is trying to ascertain whether the interviewee has a firm grasp, a good understanding of what the Agile coach role means and what the Agile coach role is. All right. And so in this video, I'm going to share my thoughts and my recommendation and also a potential way to effectively answer the question. And as always, I'm going to be going off of my professional experience, right? How I, in my professional career, when asked this question, how I have addressed or answered this question, right? So that will, as always, will be the basis of my recommendation and my thoughts and perspectives on this question. Okay. So first off, I would recommend what would be the right structure to answer the answer to this question, right? So structure the answer to this question in two parts. First, in the first part, describe very briefly the core goal of the Agile coach, and in the second part, very briefly describe the different aspects or the different facets of the organization that the Agile coach needs to modify, design, touch upon, or influence in order to accomplish that goal. Okay, so that's my key recommendation about this question is to structure the answer in these two parts. All right, and so now let's talk about what would be a good an effective way to sort of answer this question. So you could again start off by describing the goal. So say that something like this, right? The overarching goal of an Agile coach is to enable or deliver or implement Agile ways of working in the organization or the division or the set of teams that the Agile coach is associated with. Okay. And in order to do that, the Agile coach needs to touch upon or modify or influence several different aspects of the organization in order to accomplish this goal. And those aspects are, so very first off, the Agile coach needs to understand the current level of Agile maturity, current level of maturity of the organization or the division. Okay, and based on that, the Agile coach needs to come up with a Agile transformation roadmap or an Agile transformation plan that would demonstrate that will show how the transformation would take place and what are the different steps and actions that need to happen in order for the Agile transformation to take place, right? And the Agile transformation plan can comprise of several key things, such as that the Agile coach would need to do. So, for example, the Agile coach would need to, redesign, or rather, they would need to ensure that the whole organization understand the essence of Agile, right? So all levels of the organization would first need to understand, would need to be trained on the core aspects of Agile, which is the values and principles of the Agile manifesto. Okay. Then the Agile coach, as part of the transformation roadmap, needs to take a look at and redesign and advise and redesign all the processes at all levels of the organization that would lead to product development and product creation, right? So these processes would be about processes like defining work at the very top level, executive level, how work intake happens, what is the process of the work intake should look like, right? What should be the way or the process to decompose the work defined at the executive level down to the smaller chunks of work, right? What would be the process to prioritize the work, right? And even estimate the work at the high level all the way, and even estimate the work obviously at the right down to the when the work is decomposed down to the team level. Okay. So all of these processes at all levels of the organization is something the Agile coach would need to address, would need to advise and redesign, right? Then the next thing that the Agile coach needs to do as part of the transformation roadmap is to provide specific training on the framework of choice that the organization is decided on, right? So if the organization just wants to do team level Agile, then they will either choose Scrum or Kanban. So the Agile coach is expected to train them, establish all the key practices, behaviors for those, whatever framework of choice that they have chosen. On the other hand, if the organization or the division has chosen a scaling framework like scaled Agile or less or even large scale Scrum, then the Agile coach would have to provide training, specific training at all levels of the organization for that scaling framework of choice. Okay. Then the agile coach also has to provide, coaching or guidance not only to the team level that will do the work, but also to the roles of, mid-level managers, senior managers, and even executives. Because as you know, in most agile frameworks, the role of mid-level managers, senior managers, and senior executives is not very well etched out, right? So the agile coach needs to also provide guidance and coaching to these roles in order to advise them on how they should function in an agile organization, how they should conduct themselves in an agile organization, right? Then the other aspect that the agile coach needs to also implement as part of the transformation roadmap is setting up various types of communities of practice, right? So the scrum master community practice, the product owner community practice, or the even the architect's community practice, and maybe some others, right? Because as you know, communities of practice is an essential part of an agile organization. Then the agile coach needs to advise and the organization on the type of metrics they need to use to measure progress and productivity in an agile way, in an agile organization. So that's another aspect that the agile coach needs to advise and help the organization implement, is the metrics they need to use. They need to basically make not only use and how to make it accessible, so everybody in the organization can access those metrics and start using them to measure productivity and progress in agile ways, according to the agile paradigm. Okay. And then the agile coach needs to also may need to create trainings, right? All the trainings that I just talked about, the agile coach may need to actually create those training and even have to deliver them, right? That is also an essential part of the agile coach role, right? And finally, the agile coach needs to memorialize, meaning document all the trainings and all the processes that have changed, that he or she has advised the organization to change, right? So see all the new processes that align with the agile ways of working that the coach has advised and helped the organization create and follow. The coach needs to make sure it's well documented, right? So that the future teams and members that join the organization can quickly ramp up and become productive members of this organization, right? So a coach has to not only document the processes, the new processes, but also make the training accessible. Maybe work with the organization to have a central training repository. Maybe work with them to have video-based trainings or whatever, so that these trainings become memorialized, well documented, so that the agile transformation becomes future-proof. So upcoming teams and members who join the organization after the coach departs can still ramp up and become and learn the agile ways of working. Okay. So these are the different aspects of the organization that an agile coach needs to affect, influence, design, touch upon in order to successfully deliver an agile transformation. Okay. All right, so that is a good way to encompass, to structure, to effectively answer the question. Now, obviously, an agile coach doesn't do all of this alone. They have to collaborate and partner with the stakeholders in the organization. Even they may even have to partner with other coaches and the PMO, right? So, in fact, you can include this as part of your answer to this question, that the agile coach doesn't deliver all of this by themselves. They have to partner with the internal stakeholders, the PMO, and even maybe other agile coaches in that division or organization to deliver all of this stuff. All right. And so that would be a good, effective way to answer this question, guys. And I hope you found some of the input, some of the information, insights valuable. There are a couple of more things I want to talk about. First thing, some of you watching this video may be very advanced agile practitioners, and if so, you may feel that, hey, Sanjit, you missed this aspect or that aspect, right? So if you feel that way, by all means, feel free to augment your answer with those aspects that I may have missed, although I feel fairly confident that I think I covered pretty much all the aspects, or at least all the important aspects of that an agile coach needs to deliver in order to achieve the goal of enabling agility. I think I've covered all the important aspects, but again, if you feel that I may have missed one or two, feel free to augment it. As I keep saying in the video, right, the goal of this video series is not to give you fully baked answers, is to give you a firm direction, guidance, recommendations, and maybe a couple of examples of answers, so then you can make it your own based on your knowledge and experience. So feel free to do that. The second thing I want to briefly mention is, as part of my preparation for this video, I Google to see what kind of answer is Google, providing for this question. And now that Google has, AI overview with Gemini, it does. I thought it may provide a really, really good answer, but what I found was that it spits out a very elaborate answer, bunch of paragraphs, a long answer. But again, it's kind of a little bit, in my opinion, honestly, it's a little bit vague. It doesn't mention any of the specific aspects. At least today, at the time of recording of the video, when I did the Google search, it wasn't very convincing. So I would find that answer very academic. I would find that answer, if somebody used that and gave an answer to this question, I would think of that person as someone with theoretical knowledge, but not a lot of real world coaching knowledge. So that was my reaction to the answer that I saw on Google. But again, I will let you be the judge of that, as always. So feel free to also look up other sources. And I hope that, you will still find some of the thoughts and insights I shared in this video about this, how to answer this question, valuable and helpful. Okay. So with that, I want to conclude this video, guys, and thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye.